Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is study tips for busy people to learn medical billing and coding. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. All right, I've been getting lots of emails from busy people saying, Blue, I work a full-time job, I'm a parent, I don't have time to study, how much time do I study? How can I study if I'm so busy? What do I do? All right, so let's get started. All right, the first thing I will say is this. If you truly want to do something, you will make the time for it. The thing about it is, studying medical coding is not always the most glamorous thing. It's not always the most fun thing, because learning medical coding will make you question your own intelligence because you're like, do I even understand what I'm reading? What am I reading here? Why this doesn't make sense to me? Because it is a completely different language. You have to take the time to study. And some of the tips today that I'm going to talk about, hopefully you can make these your tips as well. Hopefully these will help you in any way that maybe you can think of it in a different way rather than being so overwhelmed with everything that you have to do. If you are in a self-study program, all right, one of the things that I recommend is putting yourself on a schedule. That is number one. Putting yourself on a schedule. Well, Blue, I don't have time. No, but you do have 30 minutes. You do. You have 30 minutes because I guarantee you sometime during the day, you've been looking on Facebook, you've been on Instagram, you've been on TikTok, any of these ones, right? You've been on YouTube looking at videos. You can take 30 minutes to read, or you can take 30 minutes to go over flashcards. Start small and then build up, because studying is like a muscle that you have to build. It is not something that you're going to just be able to dive in at 2.5 hours, 3 hours per day overnight. You're not going to be able to do that because you're going to burn yourself out quicker than anything else, right? So you have to start off with something manageable. Start off with 30 minutes per day for a week, for 7 days. 30 minutes a day. You can do it. Trust me. And just putting yourself on a schedule and really carving out that specific time, that way you know once you start getting disciplined in doing that, it's going to be easier to add on a little bit more time. Well, Blue, the kids are just running around the house and they are making all kinds of noise and I can't concentrate. Get some headphones. Get some headphones, watch some videos, listen to some podcasts that are for medical billing and coding. You can do that, all right? There's lots of different options out there that when it comes to listening to something, you can do that. That's what's so great about podcasts, or that's what's so great about listening to YouTube videos. You can do that too. Anything that you can get a little bit more information in, right? If you can't take the time to stop and read it, you can always listen to it. It's the same thing if you're having to drive anywhere. If you are working a full-time job, you're sitting in a car, you can definitely listen to something on the way to work. What is that? Maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes? That's 20 or 30 minutes you could spend listening to something, whether it's for medical terminology, anatomy, or pathophysiology, or listening to a HIPAA video, or listening to something about the OIG, or anything involving revenue, the revenue cycle. For medical billing and coding, that is something that you can do in those times. You got to be able to add up those minutes, fit them in where you can. Because this time for you to study medical billing and coding is a very small window of time. If you're going through a relatively good paced program between 9 months, 12 months, or 18 months, that is literally all the time you're going to spend just to start learning it. You're going to be able to incorporate this other learning later on when you are in your job. But for the time being to learn, you have to start putting your foot down and you have to start making that time for this. This has to be a priority when you are in this phase. Because trust me, it's only going to get harder from here. Learning medical billing and coding, passing your certification, and then getting into the real world and starting to look for your job, that's going to be another battle for you to win. However, you're in this phase right now. Concentrate on this phase. Don't worry about looking for a job right now. Don't worry about passing your exam right now. Worry about learning what you have to learn, fitting in that time, making the time for this, and making your studies a priority. And if you're saying, well, Blue, the kids won't leave me alone, then recruit the kids. If they won't leave you alone and they insist on having your attention, good. Then they can hold the flashcards and they can do drills with you. Recruit the kids. Because either one or two things is going to happen. Like I said, they're either going to want to help you or they are going to say, oh yeah, I'll do my own thing. So just make sure that, if you are wanting to take this time to do this, that if they want that option to be able to help you, then they can do that. And guess what? A byproduct of that is they're going to learn it too. And it never hurts. So it really all depends. But just making the time and making it a priority is going to be your priority at this time to be able to do that. So that way you can succeed in this goal. I think that if people say that they don't have time and there's a lot of things going on, that perhaps it's not what they really want to do at the moment. Or maybe they just don't want it bad enough. There is always that. Because sometimes people want to change their life, but they just don't want it bad enough. When you want it bad enough, you will make the time. You will do whatever it is that you have to do. And you would do flashcards. I always get complaints about the flashcards whenever I tell people to do flashcards. Flashcards are a wonderful learning tool, okay? Because you can make them yourself. If you don't want to make them, you can totally order them online on whatever subject that you want, about anatomy or medical terminology, whatever the case may be. Take the time to do those flashcards. Take the time to watch videos or listen to podcasts. So that way you can get a little bit more time in. And even if you're multitasking, and of course parents are really good at multitasking, you can incorporate a little bit of this in it too. But starting out with 30 minutes per day in a week, and then you get through that, then you're going to feel like you accomplished something because you made the time. Then you can add on another 30 minutes per day. And if you have to take a day where you're just doing a break, that is totally fine. If you have a day where you just can't get to it because you had so much going on, that's okay too. Don't get discouraged. Just pick up your schedule the next day and just keep going with it. Because so many times people think, well, I failed at this, I'm just going to give it up. Well, if it's that easy for you to give up, then it's going to be easy for you to give up on everything. So you really have to give yourself a chance to succeed and know that you are human and know that you're going to have days when you don't feel like studying and you don't feel like reading. Okay, you don't feel like listening. You don't feel like reading, then listen. You don't feel like listening, you don't feel like reading, but you feel like coloring. So get a anatomy coloring book, because that helped me to learn anatomy. And I always leave my favorite one in the description box. The title is there, so you don't have to click on the link, just so you guys know. Because it's the Amazon affiliate link. So I may get a commission if you click on it, but you don't have to. That's why I always leave the title there. So it's entirely up to you. You can do that. You can go to the bookstore, check out a book. Not check out a book, but buy a book from the bookstore and do that. Do a coloring book because it does help. Again, it's engaging your mind and the material, so that way you can remember it. But doing those things can help you. If you are saying, well, I really need a study partner. If you are in a school and perhaps there's like a group of you, if you find somebody that's like-minded like you, and keep this in mind, finding people that are like-minded like you is very important, because if you have a person who is feeling very defeated and very, well, I can't get this and I don't understand this, that's going to bring you down, all right? And you can't always help people either, because sometimes they just don't want to be helped. So it really all depends on the person. And sometimes they're feeling defeated and discouraged because they don't understand and they haven't had somebody to explain it to them. And if you're looking for someone to explain things to you, there's tons of tutors out there. I'm a tutor myself, and I always leave my information in the description box below. And there's a ton of them on LinkedIn. So you can find a tutor if that is what you need. Because sometimes, especially when you're learning independently, you may run into something that you can't truly understand from reading a book, and it may take somebody to explain it to you to be able to better help you. So it just depends on what you want to do. But carving that time out to even do that is also important as well. So that is something that you need to think about when you are getting into these kinds of programs, because it's very easy to get discouraged. It's very easy to not have that discipline. But you have to have that discipline, and remember that this discipline that you need is only for a very short amount of time. This isn't going to be forever, right? That you're going to have to be this intensive in studying or trying to find that time or carving this time out. If you need to get up a little bit earlier so that you can study before everybody else in your house gets up, then that's what you need to do. Because it's, like I said, it's only going to serve you better when you have taken the time to do these workbooks for your medical billing and coding class, and really taking the time to just practice. But again, not going past 2 hours at a time. Now, I may not have said this yet, but I recommend not studying more than 2 hours in one sitting, because when you go longer than 2 hours, your body's gonna feel fatigued. So I always recommend that setting the clock, if you have a whole day to study, great. But setting the clock for 2 hours, taking the time, let it be quality time that you're studying or making flashcards or watching videos or listening to podcasts, and then take a break after that 2 hours. Take a 30-minute or an hour break, 2-hour break or whatever, and then go right back at it. Because that is what is going to help you to be able to absorb that information in, and you can start to get used to the heavy reading and the studying and the writing and all of these things. It will help you during that time to get into mental shape for studying as much as you do, and then reading as much as you will when you are in the field. Because when you're in the field, that is 90% of what we do is read. So reading comprehension is important, and being able to get through the documentation at a very good pace is going to be very important. If you're a slow reader, that's okay, because the more you read, the more that you will get faster, because you've had the practice time in. But you have to get into that groove, and you have to get into that schedule. And like I said, putting yourself on a schedule is going to help you in those times when you're going to feel like there's so much that you need to do, but how can you fit any of this time in? If you're making it a priority, it will become a priority. Then you will be able to start studying more. But just doing those little things, taking the time to learn mnemonic devices will also help you. I did a video here a while back about mnemonic devices, and a mnemonic device is like a little phrase that'll help you to be able to recall something that you need to remember, like a group of words that you need to remember. So it's very easy, and it can be fun to come up with your own mnemonic devices. I have a mnemonic device website that I really like, and I will leave that video link in the description box as well, so that way you guys can check it out. But just taking those little things to just take that little bit more time, and just a little bit more time, and all of those little things, they add up. And even if you have to write it down, so that way you can see at the end of the week how much you have studied by writing down all these things. I listened to this podcast. I watched this video on YouTube. I did the coloring book for 30 minutes, whatever the case may be, whatever you did in that day. And then look at your study journal at the end of the week, and you can see, wow, I really did do a lot. It adds up. But that's the thing that you have to do, is take that step. And know that it's going to be boring sometimes. There's going to be things that are just going to be like, I don't want to do this right now. But when you do it and you complete it, you'll be even more proud of yourself. And like I said, even if you have to recruit the kids because they won't leave you alone, recruit them. Because either they'll help you or they'll leave you alone. One of the two. But don't make it where you have to take on that burden so much of, well, I have my kids and they need my attention. Kids can be self-sufficient if they don't need help or assistance, right? If they're teenagers and there's, they're okay to take care of themselves, they can make themselves a sandwich. It's all right. You're still a good parent for taking care of trying to learn. All right, so that's something that you have to remember too. I've had many parents write in and say, Blue, I just feel so guilty taking any time away from my kids to study. I mean, I get it. I get it, you know, but at the same time, your kids are watching you. They're watching you and they're looking at everything you do. So the more that you try to incorporate even just the small amounts of study that you can, they're going to see that you are committed and that you do know the importance of doing something like this. And they're going to learn that skill. So, like I said, even if you think that you're too busy to study, you have time in there somehow, some way to be able to incorporate those tips. Doing the flashcards or buying flashcards and just doing them whenever you got a few minutes. Listening to podcasts in your vehicle on your way to work or wherever, you know, or maybe listening to your headphones when you're in the grocery store walking around and trying to, you know, shop or whatever. You can listen to those things. It is about taking the time to make the time to do those things. But you got to fit in where you can all this stuff, because at the end of the day, if you can do more than 30 minutes a day for the first week, that's great. But set the goal for at least a minimum of 30 minutes. Then you can start building. And then the next week, it can be 45 minutes per day. And then you can build up to 1 hour per day. All right. But I've always said that if you are not working and this is your, you're just studying, you're going to school right now, this needs to be your full-time job. You should be doing 40 hours per week. But like I said, I don't want to scare off people that are really busy and have lots to do. I want them to feel like, yes, I can do this too. It's not just for people who can really truly devote all this time. I can make time as well. I can look for corners where I can get time in, whether it is walking around to the grocery store or driving in the car or getting up an hour early before your family gets up so that you can have that quality time and no one is bothering you. So take the time, guys. Only you can benefit by having a little bit more time to study. And like I said, if you have these kids and these kids are not leaving you alone and you recruit them, you know, then it becomes you guys' journey. It's not just your journey. It's you and your family's journey. And, you know, a lot of times kids are really happy to be part of their parents' journeys too, you know, and then if they have that, and it'll make it so much easier and so much better. I'm just saying, you know, it's different obviously in every household, but, you know, that is just something that you can think about and something that you can try, because sometimes parents don't think that it's even possible, so they don't even try. You got to be able to try, folks. That's just what I'm saying. So that is my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope it does help you in somehow, some way. If you found value, I hope that you will like this, share this if it helped you, and I will wrap this one up. So if you are a medical coder, a medical coding student, somebody curious about the fascinating world of medical coding, a provider, or a nurse, I invite you to like and subscribe and follow me on my journey in medical coding. I will see y'all next time. Bye.